All right, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich once again. We just got the 11 a.m. advisory on Hurricane Earl, so I want to do a couple updates on the track and a little bit of my thinking. We did an update earlier this morning, but just wanted to reiterate what's going on. You can see down the lower part of your screen, this is Advisory 29. The location is 25.1 north, 72.1 west. Winds are still 125 miles per hour max. I'm a little suspicious about that. I mean, that could be a little generous. One thing did change, though, that is somewhat significant, is the movement is now north-northwest as opposed to northwest. Essentially, what that means, as opposed of the storm moving at a heading of about 310 degrees to the northwest, it's now moving 320 degrees to the north-northwest, or getting closer to almost a due north movement. That's kind of key right now with the storm. As we take a look at the track, now this is Storm Pulse. They did shift their cone of uncertainty just a little bit to the east, but this gives you an idea. Thursday at 8 o'clock, there should be tropical storm force winds extending all the way out to Wilmington at about this time, which will be about 187 miles from the center. Morehead City would be approximately, 160 miles, and Cape Hatteras, this would be about 169 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras. By 8 a.m. on Friday morning, the storm is going to pass about 120 miles, maybe 115 miles east of Cape Hatteras. I think that'll be the closest approach. If we see any shift in the track, it's probably going to be to the right or to the east, not to the west. Winds at this time are supposed to be 115 miles per hour. I'm not buying it. Let's take a look at the models. Notice all of the model tracks are now shifted east. Actually, all of the models, at least that I'm displaying here, are either at or east of the current National Hurricane Center forecast. There's only one model to the west, and that's in the no gaps. And even the no gaps, which is the Navy model, is now offshore just barely. Yesterday and last night we had a couple outlying models that had a crossing over the Outer Banks. We don't even see that right now. When you look at the water vapor loop, you could see the dry air still getting entrained, but look how fast this trough is digging in across the central part of the country. It's now in the Dakotas. Strong southwesterly flow developing over Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. It looks like the storm is running out of time to move any further west. If anything, I suspect we'll see a north track starting here very shortly. And by the time it gets up here near North Carolina, it's probably going to start moving a little bit northeast or east of north. I think this is good news for just about everybody. Here's the water vapor loop. We talked about the dry air. I tell you what, the dry air is kind of cutting off the circulation in the middle. The only thing going for the storm is it has a very well organized central core. So I think there's still a chance that the storm is going to hold together pretty well. We do have warnings up. I want to talk about those now for the North Carolina coast. Hurricane warnings are up from the North Carolina Virginia border all the way down to Surf City, and then you basically got a tropical storm warning for Topsail Island all the way down to Wrightsville Beach and Carolina Beach in Wilmington. Then further north we've got hurricane watches that go up into the Delmarva Peninsula just to the southern tip there of New Jersey. Now here's a close-up view of the eye. You can see the dry air getting in here almost all the way around. There's good thunderstorm development in the eye and around the central dense overcast, but there's really no storm development around the circulation. So this storm could actually be weakening. And I talked earlier about being suspicious of the 125 mile an hour winds. The reason I say that is a good friend up at the Southeast Regional Climate Center sent me the data from the buoy where the eye wall, the southwestern eye wall, passed right over this buoy. And you could see at 3:50 this morning, the winds dropped to 15.5 knots. That's definitely within the eye wall. Then, an hour later, they jumped up to 66 knots with gusts up to 83.5 knots. The max wind gust recorded by this buoy, remember, this is over open water, was only 100 miles per hour, 0.66. We'll round it up to 101. Now, that's in the southwest eye wall, which is a little weaker. But I doubt there's 125 mile an hour max winds. I suspect they're about 110 to 115 with gusts to 125 or 130. So I think the Hurricane Center is being a little generous right now with the speeds. We'll keep an eye on it, but I think this all is good news. We talked about this yesterday. I think it's going to stay well offshore, but the Outer Banks, there's good reason to evacuate and have hurricane warnings. There will be some overwash with the massive surf and swells moving in. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day, and we'll have complete details coming up today at 4. See you then.